The story involving the Knicks is they make a draft pick on Thursday. They don't trade Kristaps Porzingis, but they still could be very active in this offseason. And, of course, the biggest name and the priority would be Carmelo Anthony. And then the reports are, as the suggestions have been over the last couple of weeks, it'll be very difficult to trade him on several reasons. He's got the trade kicker. That's number one. And also the fact that he's got the no trades. He can control where he goes. But the Knicks can move on from him if they're willing to buy him out, which we're talking upwards of $50 million. Is that the right move for them to make at this point, to move on? And if they do, he certainly will have his pick of teams that he can go to.
Well, here's the thing when it comes to the Carmelo Anthony situation. It's hard for me to envision a player spending the twilight of his career in a place that doesn't want him. I mean, Phil Jackson and the Knicks organization couldn't be more clear in terms of their position, wanting to move on from Carmelo Anthony. Now, Carmelo holds all the cards because he has the no-trade clause. But, I mean, if you're Carmelo Anthony, you want a chance to enjoy the twilight of your career, the last days that you have to play professional basketball. You know, it just seems like you would want to be in a position where you can get out of New York. But I think that because he owns
Phil Jackson made it clear. He told us he'd just as well stay. So is that a power play of him saying, because that's what it looks like this to me. Carmelo doesn't want to waive the no trade because it'll look like he wants out of New York. He'd rather the narrative be the Knicks wanted me out of here. I always wanted to stay, so that his legacy won't be that he gave up on us. It's that the team gave up on him.
Well, I'm not too sure Carmelo Anthony has any options in terms of teams wanting to trade for him, because I don't think anybody's in a position to want to give up assets for Carmelo Anthony at this stage in their career. They're not building around Carmelo Anthony to try to pursue a championship. Teams are looking at Carmelo Anthony as a supplemental piece, potentially a six-man coming off the bench, and that's not somebody that you're going to give up any significant assets for. So, I mean, Carmelo Anthony might not have any choice in the matter in terms of, is there somebody that's going to be willing to trade? Now it becomes an interesting proposition of who's going to blink first in terms of being able to buy out Carmelo Anthony in that contract. I mean, you start talking about 2 years, what is it, $50 million that they'd have to buy
upwards
out?
Of, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's a lot of money for a buyout, but I think that's the direction that this thing is going. And Rick said this about 3 months ago. I mean, it's a situation where the Knicks don't want Carmelo Anthony around to be to a detriment to the guys in the locker room, especially the young players, Kristaps Porzingis and now Frank Ntilikina. So, I mean, it's a tough spot. But I think Carmelo Anthony, I mean, he's looking at the New York Knicks organization and saying, how much do you guys want me gone? Because if you want me really out of this locker room, it's going to cost you $50 million.
Now, we're talking about two humongous egos with Phil and Carmelo, right? And you start asking yourself the question, like, how does each party win? Now, if Phil gets rid of Carmelo, he wins because he needs him out of that locker room. For Carmelo, the only way he really wins because he wants to stay in New York is to win a championship. Now, unfortunately for Carmelo, I know you can sit here and say he has the power, but the two teams that he would go to and instantly have a chance to win a championship, they're hamstrung. Like, Golden State doesn't need Carmelo Anthony. The one team you can point to is Cleveland, and because of the money he makes, there's no flexibility for Carmelo Anthony. So the best case scenario for him is he gets bought out, and now it gives Cleveland the flexibility to bring him in.
They can bring him in as a veteran's minimum.
And you can still get Paul George. You can still maintain that team. So, I mean, if you're LeBron James and you want Carmelo Anthony, that's exactly what you're telling Carmelo Anthony, is get yourself bought out, and you'll be a Cleveland Cavalier. You get paid by them, and you win a championship with us.
Now the question is, are the Cavs good enough to beat the Warriors with Carmelo Anthony? And if they end up making the trade that had been talked about already, the Nuggets are interested in Kevin Love. They want to get a stretch four there. They have Jokic. They have a young team that they're trying to improve. They're trying to get back in the game. The Nuggets have been dormant since they traded Melo. So let's say they make that trade, and it involves Paul George ended up going to the Cavaliers. So you have Paul George, LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony. Now, they all can't start. So Melo would probably have to come off the bench in that scenario. Is that team with Kyrie good enough to beat the Warriors?
I think it matches up with the Warriors better. I think that gives Cleveland the opportunity now when LeBron does take a break in the finals that you can match Paul George up with Durant. And now no one on the Golden State side of the ball is going to be able to rest because Carmelo Anthony can't score the basketball.
And Draymond's got to guard him. Yeah.
So you'll be able to score points when LeBron's out of the game, and you'll be able to play defense when LeBron's out of the game. I still think they need that one playmaker as far as point guard is concerned. And maybe if Rajon Rondo gets bought out, that could be a name you start to hear because that guy, I mean, you saw what he did in the first two games against the Celtics.
Yep.
He's a better coach than Tyronn Lue. You could argue.
You can make the argument.
You can make the argument.